Chapter 3. Lady. Wake up now. I heard someone whispering above me. Even though I was fast asleep, I was able to wake up even by the smallest presence of someone. I refused to believe in what had happened to me, which kept me awake all night, hoping that this was all just a dream. I wished so hard for me to wake up from it, and I think I fell asleep during the process of that. Lady, the cautious voice was heard again. Is she calling me? The two men with blue eyes left already, and from what I remember, no one was in this room except for me till the very last moment I was awake. For that reason, the one who could be called a lady was me alone. I was drowsy when I was lost in my thoughts that I couldn't answer the call right away. It was a moment later when I heard a rustling sound from the back. I was somewhat awake from sleep now. I was about to put my strength to my body to get myself up from the bed. A lightning-like pain was felt on my forearm from outside the comforter. Ack! My eyes automatically flashed open. I screamed as I got up from the spot, kicking the comforter away. Next, I pulled my sleeves up. It was to check my pained forearm. "Tah! This—" I was shocked to see the flesh shown under the light sky blue pajama sleeves, making my jaws drop. The thin forearm was covered with blue bruised scar of the needles. If it weren't a human flesh but some kind of fabric, it would have had lots of visible holes on it. It was when I was still shocked by the sight of a drop of blood on one of my forearm. "You're awake now." Unconcerned, casual voice came from beside the bed. I turned my head towards that direction to see a brown hair girl with lots of freckles. She was a maid. In the illustrations, every maid's had no faces drawn and all wore the same maid outfit, including the girl standing in front of me. I don't know where she hid the needle she poked me with, but there was nothing in her hands. She was observing me with the face of mockery and some kind of satisfaction. What's up with her, doing this kind of thing to a person who was doing absolutely nothing? I opened my mouth in desire to snap at her. However, no words came out of my mouth no matter how hard I tried. Why isn't anything helping me out in this kind of situation? Damn it. When I only glared at her with no words said, the maid acted as if nothing happened. "I've prepared the bathing water for you in the bathroom, so go and wash yourself first, lady." An evil smile was reflected on her face as she started to make the bed. She seemed to be used to doing this to this body. I sat still, biting on my lower lip, but was forced to enter the bathroom due to the maid's push. She told me she prepared the bathing water, but the only thing in the empty bathroom was a bucket filled with cold water. It was freezing cold, like ice water, that it gave me goosebumps just by dipping my fingertip in. I didn't expect any service in helping me bathe, but this is just too extreme. There were some stories about how the villainess got the worst ever treatment, but nothing explained something this specific. I was once again forced to realize from the overflowing feeling of reality that I've actually entered the game. I pulled up the sleeve to see the scar with dried blood covering it again, and when I did, I sort of teared up. What's this? Nothing like this was shown in the gallery. Suddenly, an image popped up in my head as a reminder. It was an illustration of the villainess with an open-shoulder dress. Unlike the other illustrations that had not the smallest mistakes in it, on the illustration of the villainess had several small dots drawn on the one forearm. Nuts! I thought those were actual birthmarks. If it weren't, then maybe it was something important that would be mentioned in one of the stories I failed to unlock. Who knew those were the traces proving all the abuses? Though this was unbelievable, I was once again surprised of how detailed the story was plotted. "Lady, breakfast has been prepared." "Are you done yet?" the maid urged from the other side of the bathroom door. "Ugh," says her who isn't a match for me. I felt annoyed, but with no choice, I dipped my hand into the freezing cold water again. To me, who suffered the worst for years from my stepbrother bastards, this was not even tickling. I was the villainess, anyways, so while I was at it, I wanted to make needle marks on that bitch as she did to me, but I had to give it more time for me to investigate everything first. Because unfortunately, I was in a state where I couldn't even speak freely of what I wanted to speak. The moment I stepped out the bathroom, drying my face with the towel, I could see the table all set with some food on it like the maid had said. Seemed like I even had to eat my meal in the room, probably because I was grounded by the first son of the Duke. "Take a seat, lady." I was pulled by the maid's hand and sat on the seat by the table. As soon as I did, though, I couldn't do anything but to frown. The food prepared as a meal for a human didn't look edible at all. On the plate was a piece of blue mouldy bread, and on the bowl was a kind of thick grey soup with undefined solids floating around. "Hurry up and eat, I know you're hungry." The maid smiled widely as she urged me to eat. I clenched my teeth and glared at her. A white square screen popped into view right in front of my eyes, flipping the table. "What's this, you crazy? Bring me the chef right now, right now," shoved the fork in the maid's mouth. "You tell me to eat these that not even the dogs would eat? Then how about you do it first? Eat." I've experienced the game over twice at this scene. When I chose one, every one of the workers ran to the Duke, acted pitiful and poor to confess the villainous, troublesome actions. The son who grounded the villainous hears about this and grows so furious that he prohibited anyone offering a single drop of water to me during the grounded days. So I died in hunger. On my next turn, I chose two. Then the son of the Duke, who was just coincidentally passing by, jumped in to get the villainous off of the maid. During the process, the villainous, who was pushed roughly, fell, and the fork, which fell on her afterwards, stabbed her neck. It was really a ridiculous way to die. In the end, there's only one to choose. This scene is probably the episode which held the story about the relationships between the villainous, who became the heroine, and the workers here who worked in the mansion for a long time. However, me, who didn't want to see the scene where the heroine is mistreated from the start, just skipped the episode to the next one after dying twice. It was because there were tens of episodes I had to unlock anyways, even if it weren't this one. Right now, though, in front of my eyes, there were no return buttons that would take me to the page that enabled me to choose the episodes from. Damn. I sorrowfully glared at the maid standing next to me as I powerlessly clicked the number 3. Once I did, as if someone was controlling my body, I started to move automatically without my wills. My hands held onto the spoon and scooped up a spoonful of rotten soup. My wills of me not wanting to eat this may have affected my movements, as my hands with the spoon started to tremble on its way to my mouth. The drops of grey liquid fell on the table. No matter how strong my wills were, I couldn't stop my body from moving on its own. In the end, the spoon with the soup was shoved into my forcefully opened mouth. Ugh! The warm sensation of the grey liquid was felt on my tongue. At the same time, the horrible taste of it was sensed. This wasn't food. It was the taste of the boiled cup of organic garbage. My body continued to act on its own as it forcefully gulped down the garbage water which has entered my mouth down my throat. Gasp! The maid who watched gasped, as if she didn't expect me to really eat it. "Ugh, I feel like I'm going to vomit," I gagged. I was trying so hard to forget the feeling I was currently feeling. I'm guessing that once is enough. I wouldn't die just by consuming a spoonful of organic garbage. I let out a sigh of relief since I've safely got over an episode. It was my misunderstanding. My hand, which held the spoon with, didn't stop. What's it doing? Even afterwards, I had to keep on shoving the mouldy blue bread and the grey soup in my mouth. It was not due to my wills. The maid's face paled at the sight of me forcefully eat the overdue foods. My body, which repeated those crazy motions, came to a stop when the Duke's son happened to come in. "What are you doing?" "Why, young Master Reynold!" The maid came to panic at the sudden appearance of a figure. "Ugh, ugh!" Me, on the other hand, didn't have the time to focus on that. I had to cover my mouth with both my hands so fast. I gagged so much. I felt as if everything I've consumed today was going to come flooding out any moment now. Why do I have to experience these things? I've already experienced these things enough even before entering the game. How many times did I have to suffer all the pains given by the two bastards in that hell-like house? but I have to experience these things over again even in this fictional world? Ugh. A strand of salvia escaped my mouth, out through my palms. I felt myself tearing up due to this unfair situation and the disgust. I groaned like a person who just drank poison. Seeing that, the pink hair approached me with a shocked expression on his face. Hey, are you okay? He stopped in his words. He froze still with more shock shown on his face as he looked at what was set on the table. This. Mouldy blue bread, rotten soup. It was a mess. No one would be able to guess that this was served to a lady from the Duke family. Not even the commoners would eat these garbage for breakfast. The sight of the half of those foods gone and his pale younger stepsister covering her mouth. The face of the pink hair who turned his face to look back at the maid changed to a horrifying frown. Hey, what did you just feed her? Why, young master, this is, well, the maid turned pale at the deathly aura and started to shiver in fear. He obviously wouldn't have guessed. How would an extra who was just passing by have guessed that the fake lady who was always making a fuss of one or another would be eating the rotten food, purposely prepared, without any complaints? The pink hair snapped at the maid who wouldn't properly answer. This is more than enough humiliating to dare mock our family. A mere maid like you, doing these things to the one she's serving. Young master, that's a misunderstanding. Young master, get lost. Scram from this room. Why? Young master. I'll kindly explain this whole thing to my father and brother. Is there someone out there? Butler. Chapter 4. Thinking that this life was a gift from the God for the pitiful me. However, I succeeded in enduring and finally escaping the Dang house. I was accepted into the famous university that everyone in the world knows about. There was a house I could fully relax in, even though it was small and dirty. There were nothing left but things that would help me on the way to the brightest future after I left the two bastards. What I'm trying to say is that Penelope's life, which every littlest mistake takes me to my death, isn't any better. Never mind. Far worse. It would be a different matter if I at least was the heroine of the normal mode whose every decision led her to walk the flower path. But why? But why to me, who've J-used succeeded in escaping the hell-like house? Just why? Slam, I screamed, slamming on the sink. The girl's beautiful face reflected on the mirror showed a horrifying expression. The sight of her looking more furious than sad certainly made her look like the greatest villain in the game. Ha! I sighed deep and ran my hand through my hair to flip it. I thought of things about Penelope Eckhart, a villainess of one game, the heroine of the hard mode. Penelope was actually a commoner with no surname. Penelope, who grew up going from place to place with her poor mother, catches the interest of the Duke who was desperately searching for his lost Makna daughter. When her mother, who suffered an illness, passed away, she was adopted to the Eckhart Duke family. There was only reason she was able to turn into the lady of the Duke family. It was thanks to her appearance that matched the lost daughter of the Duke, the pink hair inherited by the dead Duchess, and the clear blue eyes which symbolized the Eckhart family. I thought of the second son of the Duke whom I just saw not too long ago. His hair was the colour of the lovely pink. However, the hair colour of the women in the mirror was more towards flame colour than pink, and the turquoise-coloured eyes that slightly differed from the rest of the family members. He should have continued finding his daughter. Why did he have to take in a random kid? As Penelope grew, she did not to look like his daughter anymore. The Duke soon lost his interest for her and locks her out of his sight. All that was left for Penelope, who lost the Duke's interest, was her two stepbrothers and the workers abusing. It's so similar to my life to the point it feels unpleasant. Penelope's life and the treatments she got was awfully like mine. It was something I didn't notice when I was playing it as a game. I suddenly started feeling down. Fake lady. Every worker's working in this mansion called Penelope fake. Penelope herself was breathtakingly beautiful, but to others' eyes she was only a mere clone that didn't even look like the original. Maybe the story flowed differently if she acted cute towards others, but her personality hit the bottom even though she was only a girl who just coincidentally happened to enter the family. Flashing back to the prologue of the story, it was explained she was always on guard towards everyone like a hedgehog with spikes up, and always caused trouble wherever she went to, no matter the place or the situation. I wondered why the choices of lines were all something that would surely cause a fuss. I nodded my head, finally understanding why all the choices I had to choose from were that insane. Penelope was actually a villain who seemed powerful just by her name. Unlike how naive the normal mode heroine looked like, she looked so keen and sharp. But I sort of understood Penelope. Just today. No, just a few hours. I've experiences the treatments she got for few hours, yet I think it was enough for me to understand how her life must have been. Even though she's called a fake. How could they wake her up, poking her with needles? Even so, she's a girl picked up by the Duke himself. Not even one maid would wake the other maids that way. It was when she was 12 when Penelope was adopted to the Duke family. If she was abused from that day and on. There weren't that much things a little kid could do to the adults who wouldn't even listen to her words no matter how hard she shouted. Is this a proof trying to prove she's a meant-to-be villainess? Nothing could change the fact that she was abused all the time even until today. No characters were the least merciful towards Penelope, and the motions that killed Penelope inside were rough and insane. I feel a bit sorry for her. I raised my hand and stroked Penelope's fragile, soft cheek. The figure with strong shade of pink hair reflected in the mirror looked sorrowful. However, I got rid of the feeling of pity towards the other. Ha! Who's sorry about who? It wasn't the time to think about things in peace. I was Penelope now. It meant that I could die in the male character's hands any time like that Penelope did in the game. It was fear that I felt when I reminded me of that.